There's only 5 game weeks remaining to game from Captaincy. Let's see if we can nail the blank Gameweek 34 captain. First up on the shortlist is Isak against a promoted side, or shall I say a demoted side, Ipswich at home. Salah's also got the home advantage against Spurs. Their defence hasn't been as bad as Ipswich's this season. You will see that later on in the video, but for most of it they have been quite poor. Cunha faces another team that's getting relegated with Ipswich, which is Leicester. He's also got the home advantage. As expected, the Wolves talisman doesn't quite match up with the other 2 players in the non-penalty stats per 90 minutes, but then again Isak doesn't compare to Salah. Salah does get the additional point for every goal scored, and in the XG calculations as well, which does help his case even more, but even still, he is the king of captaincy. But like we've seen recently, that's not necessarily every game week. It's difficult to call who fares the best on the set pieces this game week. Salah's 100% nailed on pens, but then there's only a 3% chance of Isak not taking a penalty, which would be due to Wilson being on the pitch, but then there is a chance he could take a direct free kick, and Cunha's the least likely to take a penalty, but that's only by 7%, and he is on direct free kicks and indirect free kicks and corners. When he has those benefits in combination of almost being nailed on penalties with a 93% chance, I would say that Cunha just about edges it on the set pieces section. In contrast, he doesn't have the best of odds this game week. Isak's got the highest anytime goal scorer odds, Salah's got the highest anytime assist odds, and Salah just about edges it on the anytime return odds by 1%. Isak's sort of weighted more towards goals, but then Salah gets the additional point for every goal scored, which I think is worth slightly more in this situation, so I'd say that Salah just about has the best weighted odds. There's no denying that the Egyptian's got the best points projections this game week, with 8.8 on Fantasy Football Fix and still a very respectable 8.4 on FPL Review. He's quite a margin above the other 2 players, but I do think expected minutes does come into it, and we will see that later on in the video. When we compare the opposition's defence, we can see why Salah's not quite a clear-cut winner. Isak and Cunha do have easier fixtures, and I'd say quite a bit easier to be fair. Vicario's back in net, Van de Ven and Romero are back as centre-backs, Udogie looks like he might be back in the team as well. So throughout the season, Spurs' defensive numbers have been very poor, but they've had very bad defensive injuries, so I don't think their defence, what they've got right now, do replicate how bad these numbers are. I know they look quite good on the screen in comparison to Leicester and Ipswich, but actually they've got the 4th worst expected goals conceded figure in the whole league. Obviously Leicester and Ipswich are worse, and of course the 3rd team is Southampton. By no means am I saying that the Spurs defence is strong, because it's definitely not. The clean sheet odds are only 5%, but to be fair, that's against the best attack in the whole league away from home. But then at the same time, Ipswich have the exact same clean sheet odds against a Newcastle attack that is strong, but not quite as strong as Liverpool's, which backs up what I was saying that Ipswich have a worse defence than Spurs. Leicester do as well, to be fair, but their clean sheet odds are much higher because they're facing a Wolves attack that is nowhere near as good as the other 2 attacks. When we take a look at the risk assessment, we can see why the points projections were slightly lower than expected for Isak, especially with the fixture that he's got as well. It's because the expected minutes are factored into that, to be fair. They could be as high as 90, which is what Salah's nearly on, but as you can see, Salah and Cunha both played 90 minutes in their last match, and Isak only played 75, which I do think plays a big influence. But then at the same time, Newcastle had 3 games within the space of 7 days, but now he gets a week's worth of recovery, and so do the other 2 players as well. Now it's time to conclude. If I was going ultra differential, I'd go for Cunha, even more than Palmer against Everton at home. I don't think Palmer's in very good form at the minute, and Everton's defence is strong. I know that Tarkowski's got injured, but as a whole you've still got Branthwaite in there, Pickford, Mikolenko and O'Brien. But at the same time, I don't think Cunha comes anywhere near the captain's armband this game week. If you want to go for the best captain, it's of course between Isak and Salah. Salah's the safest option because he's got the most reliable expected minutes, and he will probably have the highest effective ownership, but this channel's not all about that. It's not about the opposite either, where we chase players with low ownership. We chase points, and I do think Isak's fixture is much easier than Salah's, more than the data models portray. I do think sometimes they can be slow to adapt. So for example, when Spurs picked up all of their injuries, I do think they were ranking better on the data models than I thought they could have done. Then after a while they did recognise that Spurs were defending very poorly, then they adapted, but I thought it was a bit too late. So based on all of that, I think the best captain in blank game week 34 is Isak. I've activated my free hit. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my team selection video or any future videos like this.